Republic of Texas is coming up next. Still time to call your friends. We have people coming on the conference line and on the stream. We've got a full night ahead. You're tuned into the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFT is a private society, and nothing here is ever to be construed as medical nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the RealPublicRadio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way 7 days a week on the RealPublicRadio.net, supported by the partners of Free America Radio Network and the Inside View Worldwide Radio Broadcasting Group, and all of you out there. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Southeast Georgia and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares is the Republic of Texas. We're glad you're tuned in, ladies and gentlemen, because here is where we bring you the most important information on the face of the entire earth or under the earth. Here is where each week we bring you the very best in radio broadcast listening while we reveal the greatest secrets, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, and the deeper mysteries of life. Yet the one question that will always remain will be this: can you handle the truth, as it will be presented here this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning, in the future, wherever you are around the world? I don't know if you can handle the truth, but the state of Texas is out, and the Republic of Texas is in. So get ready for a great broadcast. The history, being a part of history. And now for the Republic of Texas, Glenn Winningham.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great, Glenn. You're coming in loud and clear. We got Bob Wilson on with us.
All right. Well, why don't you let, I suppose, Bob, is he on? Let him start. And I started last time.
Okay.
Unless he wants me to start, I don't know.
I was hoping you were going to prime him on using an instant messenger, but we'll get that for next week. Apparently.
Well, he's. You
yes,
just,
I'm on here.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just muted during the music. Okay, we're ready to go?
You are good to go.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Well, welcome, listeners, for tonight. This is Bob Wilson, an elected senator in the nation of the Republic of Texas. And for the first few times here, we're doing this show starting off with a recap of the history of how the Republic of Texas began. How something begins has a whole lot to do with how it's going to turn out. And we made some mention last time about the early defeats of the Texians who were trying to defend the American settlers in the land that then belonged to Mexico. And so I'm going to raise a question by way of review for those who listened in last time. Do you know why?
And
the
Bob,
Texians,
before you do that question, I'm trying to boost your audio. Just
Okay.
get as close to that mic as you can and breathe deep, okay? I want to boost you.
All right, how's that?
That's a little better, thank you.
Okay. Okay, and the question for review is, why did Texians fight that war for independence from Mexico? Give that a little bit of thought. I'll remind you that last time we mentioned the battle at the Alamo when the Texian defenders were all killed by Santa Anna and his armies. And then not too long after that, Santa Anna advanced on a little town known then as Goliad, moving east towards the Gulf of Mexico. And they put up a white flag of surrender and came out surrendering, and he had them all slaughtered, every one of them, women and children included. So the reason that the Texians fought the war for independence from Mexico was because they were being killed by a lawless Mexican dictator named Santa Anna, who had been elected as president of the Republic of Mexico, but as soon as he was elected, turned and abolished their new constitution, declared himself dictator. The reason that the Americans were in the Texas territory was because they had been invited there by a Republic of Mexico government, which needed more settlers in that land which hadn't been settled before. And the Americans came and fought alongside of the Mexican ranchers and farmers who were already there, who went there again by invitation of the governor of the president of Mexico. So they became friends and mutually defended each other against savage Indian attacks. So after the massacres at the Alamo and at Goliad, the new temporary or provisional government of Texas named Sam Houston as commander of the Texian army, and he went to be in the field with them. That same time, a man named George Childress, and there's a town in northwest Texas now named Childress. George Childress wrote a Texian Declaration of Independence, declaring independence from Mexico. He borrowed heavily from Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence for the States of America United, which was what it was known as from the beginning. And Sam took over, but it seemed to the soldiers that Sam was doing a whole lot more retreating than fighting. And so some of the soldiers ultimately snuck out at night and went home to protect their families. It seems that Sam Houston would get word from his scouts that Santa Anna and his huge army was coming. Houston would retreat across one of the many rivers that flow through Texas into the Gulf of Mexico and wait on the other side. That repeated. Santa Anna became convinced that Sam Houston was a coward, that he would never fight. Ultimately, some of the Texian officers agreed, and they started leaving. So while Houston's army was shrinking, Santa Anna's army advanced. And the new Texian government officials raged at General Houston because he wasn't fighting. Ultimately, after retreating in a northeasterly direction across the rivers, the Pecos, the Nueces, the San Antonio, the Guadalupe, the Colorado, the Brazos, and the Trinity Rivers, Houston and his army finally crossed Buffalo Bayou at the San Jacinto River and waited there. Santa Anna's army arrived, set up camp, and waited for reinforcements. And by afternoon, 600 fresh soldiers arrived under the command of General Coss, C-O-S, who was brother-in-law to Santa Anna. Santa Anna decided that Houston would not attack that day, so he told all the soldiers to eat and take their afternoon siesta. Next week we will carry on with that and learn about Sam Houston's secret strategy to win the war. But for now, what are your questions on Texas, the nation, and its importance today, or anything else that you are thinking about?
Well, Bob, are you opening up to callers?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I had actually a question.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like a trivia question.
Okay.
Because I grew up in New Jersey, right? So I'm not, born and bred Texian, but I lived there 20 years. So I feel like once you get that under your skin, you're a Texan for the rest of your life.
You're right.
So
You're right.
yeah. So the question is this: somebody coming from the outside, coming in, and it's rather interesting. I observed when I lived in the Houston area that seemed like half the people in Texas, or at least in the metropolis areas, were imports from the north or something. It was like there's a big intrusion in the development and growth of Texas. But so a lot of outsiders come in and become a part of the state. Well, what we call now the state of Texas. Of course, we're dealing with an overlay of the Republic of Texas. But so from an outsider point of view, and you grow up, and so I was used to using the word Texan, and so where does the verbiage, or I'm trying to think of the colloquial, what would that be the right word, for Texian come from? Is that just that's natural for Texas, I guess, right?
Well, it's actually the other way around. The people called each other once they got here Texians, and the reason for that is the same reason that the people in Philippi were referred to as Philippians, or the people in Corinth were referred to as Corinthians. The IANS ending on the name of some place refers to the people who dwell there. It was shortened to Texans later, after the U.S. fraudulently annexed Texas, not as a nation, but as a state. So it wasn't Texans from the beginning, it's Texians.
Right, well, that's what I was thinking it probably was, and that's a good explanation. Okay, that answered my question. So if anybody out there has a comment or a question, we want to welcome all of our listeners to therealpublicradio.net, and we're very honored to be supporting the Republic of Texas here, and I became a part of the Republic of Texas movement back in 1995 or 96, give or take. There was a struggle going on in the Republic of Texas movement, and a lot of activity, a lot of things going down, a lot of ups and downs in the attempt to bring back the sovereign Republic of Texas. And by the way, I'm the producer of the RealPublicRadio.net. For anybody who doesn't know me, Desert Owl, and I've been doing the radio network here, Free America Radio Network, for 4 years. And so we're glad to have all of our friends out there, and we've got a couple hours here. So time to call your friends. If you have friends in the Republic of Texas, that would be from Wyoming all the way down to Corpus Christi and all the way over to New Mexico, Rio Grande River, and east into Kansas, Missouri area. Okay, so and anybody else, for that matter, because it's a public awareness is important as well, and these between Glenn Winningham and Bob Wilson, Senator Bob Wilson of the Republic of Texas, we've got a lot of good knowledge of the law as well, and so we're glad to have you. Now, star 5 will raise your hand, and I know it says for every 1,000 for every 1,000 people you have one caller, and we don't have 1,000 people on here. Okay, so but we would like to have a few callers on here, and so star 5 will do that. If you're on the stream, then you need to the call-in number is on the right-hand side of the home index page of the RealPublicRadio.net. Okay, star 5, and once you're on the conference line, and so while we're waiting for a caller, Bob, how did you? I'm just curious. How did you get into this? Into this arena? What? How did you take the leap?
Question.
How did you take the leap?
About 4 or more years ago, I had been going to some Monday evening discussion groups taught by a person who knew a whole lot more about law than I did, a guy named Jerry, and learned from him that all was not what it appears to be. And it was very intriguing to me. Now, by training and experience, I'm an engineer. But as part of that, I studied engineering law, so I know contract law very well, having used it for about 45 years. Wrote contracts and administered contracts and so on. So that got me interested. And then something like 3 years ago or so, a gentleman called me and said, would you be interested in talking about serving the Republic of Texas as a member of Congress, because we need one right now due to a shuffle. That gentleman said he was taking a higher office, and would I fulfill his office, which was in the Senate. The senators represent a district which includes, in my case, 2 of the original counties, but includes about 20 or more present-day counties of the state of Texas. So it's a large district. An election was held. I took the position. I won the position and took it, and have been there for the last 3 years. It probably helps to understand that I have promoted the cause of freedom, which is the main cause of the Texas Republic. That is, if you don't have freedom, everything else you have, you may lose. So back in 1993 and 94, I ran for the Florida State Legislature, their House of Representatives, as a libertarian on the libertarian ticket. And the libertarians are all about freedom. So that gave me some preparation. I didn't win because in 1994, only Republicans won, as you remember. But it was very instructive. I don't have any problem in discussing and drafting new laws and so on because I'm familiar with the language and I'm familiar with the terms of freedom. In fact, when I was in my early 20s, just a graduate engineer, I ran across a booklet, a large one, called Your Rugged Constitution. I started studying the U.S. Constitution in that booklet, and it made a whole lot of sense to me, and that's what I've basically held to as far as the political situation of people living together in peace.
And Bob, speak up. You got a little low on that mic.
Okay. So it was a book called Your Rugged Constitution, which got me interested many years ago in the whole subject of how people can live together in a nation. Well, that's my background. Some of the things we've been doing, incidentally, are setting things up through law, resolution, and other legislative vehicles so that the Republic of Texas can operate in the environment we have today, in the political situation, the military, the economic, and so on. One of the first big projects I took on was a monetary project. Are
you listening in, Bob?
Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I was on mute, Bob. Forgive me. I'm taking a call. Please continue.
Okay.
I'll mute out.
All right. Anyway, it was a project to mint some commemorative medallions, the first one made of pure silver, and later some copper and then some gold, so that people who wanted to have something in their hand that jingles, that has increasing value as compared to the so-called currency of the U.S. And sure enough, that's the way it worked out. We minted a 1-ounce silver when silver cost about $17 an ounce, and not too long ago, silver per ounce got up in the high 40s of dollars per ounce. So those who got their silver when it was inexpensive found, instead of inflation, so-called inflation, hurting them, it was actually helping them. So those are kind of things we're doing. We also put together something called, and I wrote the bill for this, an act to form county readiness volunteers for each of the counties in the Republic. And it gives some suggested guidelines and enables that to happen so that the men of a county, and women too, can assemble together and become prepared for any kind of emergency, whether it's weather or whether it's earthquake or whether it's some violent attack by other people. That's what volunteers are to do. Any questions now?
We have one caller. I don't know if Glenn wanted to jump in first. He indicated he may have something to add.
Yes. Actually, my background is very similar to Bob's. I started out back in 1976 as an airplane mechanic, and I worked my way up. I do aerospace engineering consulting now, and so I deal with law and regulation all day, every day, as far as aviation is concerned. So we both have a very similar background. Now, one thing I wanted to mention also is, as far as the fact that the Republic of Texas is alive and well, is I have a letter from Midland County Sheriff's Office dated June 19th, 1997, and I just wanted to read it, and I think it speaks volumes for itself. It's written to David Johnson, Jesse Enlow, Robert Taylor, Lewis Daniel, and Rice McLeod, officers of the Provisional Government of the Republic of Texas. And it says, I want to express our thanks for the informative and professional presentation you gentlemen made to our recent meeting of the Permian Basin Law Enforcement Administrators Association held in Midland. As you know, it is our desire to communicate and work with the leadership of the Republic of Texas to produce a spirit of cooperation between the people of the Republic of Texas and our office, as well as all of the sheriffs, police administrators, and peace officers of Texas. We believe that open communication will be conducive to an environment of peaceful resolution of problems that will prevent unnecessary confrontations, helping all of us to achieve our goals. Those who attended our meeting on May 23, 1997, gained considerable insight into what the Republic of Texas is all about and had their questions answered, particularly in regard to the common law and justice in Texas. We found the presentation of information to be very informative and extremely interesting. Once again, thank you for your willingness to participate in our meeting and for the professional yet cordial way you conducted yourself in meeting with the sheriffs, police chiefs, and peace officers of West Texas. We hope to have you come back and meet with us again in the near future. And then assigned the Midland County Sheriff. P.S. We sincerely appreciate the certificates of recognition that were presented to myself and other sheriffs regarding the Jess Davis County incident. Now, so the point is that the Republic of Texas is alive and well, and they know it. And they're essentially admitting it in this letter, and of course there's been things I'm sure a lot of people know about this thing that went on in the Jess Davis County, and things like that do happen, and we expect that our public servants will carry out their duty. In other words, if I go and kill somebody, they're going to hunt my butt down. And I expect them to, and I don't care if I'm the President of the United States, okay? I mean, the President of the United States can be guilty of murder just like anybody else. And, or the President of Texas, or, I don't care who it is, the King of England. And they have a duty to hunt those kinds of people down, and they will. And I expect that they will, and I respect them for that. And if they didn't, then I would expect that other ones would hunt them down. And so the point is that the Republic of Texas is alive and well, and it's legitimate, it's recognized. They know that the Republic of Texas is back. The question is, that the listeners need to consider is you can be in the Republic of Texas, or you can be in the United States. Okay, there's two jurisdictions, and so the question is, which one do you want to be in? That's what you have to really think about. Is if you're in the United States, you're a slave, and I can show you in court cases all day long what that's all about. Now, in myself, personally, I don't need the Republic of Texas because I have gotten it to the point that I have them, they know I'm sovereign, and they've even admitted it. And so they leave me alone. But part of, we the people, part of our responsibility is to provide lawful, de jure government to protect the rights of not only the people that know and understand the law, like me and Bob Wilson, but to the weakest among us, the people that don't understand the law. They have rights too, but under the current system, unless you want to say the words, okay, that's really all you have to do is say the words, I am a citizen of the Republic of Texas, then until you do, they're going to presume other things, and that you're one of their slaves. So that's really what it comes down to is just asserting yourself and showing a track record of where you want to be, and it's everybody's choice. It's a free country. You can be a slave if you want to be. Even in the fictitious United States, they have a 13th Amendment, which is a whole other discussion. But if their fictitious 13th Amendment says that involuntary servitude is unconstitutional. Well, that doesn't mean you can't volunteer, okay? That just means that it's involuntary. So if you want to volunteer, then you can be a slave, and that's essentially what you're going to do, is you're going to volunteer. Anyways, I wanted to read this letter because to me it is so powerful, and it speaks volumes. And the Republic of Texas is alive and well now, and we need people to participate. We need people to fill offices. We need people to participate. And I've talked to Texas Rangers and about the Republic of Texas. I used to go to gun shows all the time when I was living in Texas, and tell people about the Republic of Texas. And invariably there'd be Texas Rangers and county sheriffs coming by to our table and talking to us, and they would agree, that I would tell them that we're here because we need people to participate, to fill our offices so that we can have a de jure government, because unless you have people filling those offices, then it's not as de jure, as powerful as it is if you have people filling those offices. It's way better, and they would agree with me. You've got to have people to fill those offices, and until we do, it's really not going to be taken seriously. And so for all those people that are listening right now that are in Texas, if I encourage you to participate. Now, that doesn't mean that we're perfect, okay? There's certainly, this Jeff Davis incident that this letter even talks about, people make mistakes, okay? And we have to look beyond our differences, okay? There's always going to be differences. There's always going to be infighting. There's always going to be, look at what goes on in the U.S. Congress. There's infighting and there's differences and there's little struggle, little political battles going on all the time. And that's normal. And you have to look beyond that. And what's the real goal here? The real goal is freedom for ourselves and freedom for the weakest among us, the people that don't understand the law. That's the real goal, is to help them too, so that they can be free, even though they don't understand. And right now, the system is set up to be it's basically a parasitical system. That if you don't understand the law, then you're going to be a slave because you don't understand, and that's what the bankster thieves has set up, and so under that system, then that's what happens. Anyways, that's essentially what I wanted to say today.
Very good, Glenn. And also about that freedom slave issue. Even the Scripture says, "Are you a freeman? Then don't seek to be a slave. Are you a slave? Then don't seek to be free." That you can be content with whatever state you're in, But of course, we know we still have that ability to choose the better, and of course that thing about all that infighting in Washington D.C. Where of course we know that a house divided, cannot stand, and so they've designed the chaos going on in that fictitious state called Washington D.C. Whereas we also know that within a legitimate government, that you could actually have harmony and peace and love, and everybody can agree on the simplicity of what is right and in contrast to what is wrong. So I just want to throw in those 2 cents. Now we do have a caller.
Well,
go ahead.
There's always going to be people that are going to disagree. Now, yeah. as long as they disagree within, it's like Christians, They disagree on different points of theology in Christianity, but they all consider themselves Christians, and there's nothing wrong with that. But so that's going to happen always, and you can. I don't care what kind of system you have. There's always going to be disagreements, but if the worst thing we're disagreeing about is different points of doctrine, and as far as Christianity is concerned, well, our problems are pale compared to everything else, and that's why, you know, the United States actually started out as a pretty good thing, you know, up until a civil war was a pretty good place to be,
right.
you know, and but so there's always going to be differences, and there's always going to be disagreements. But the point is that you need to look beyond those, and you need to look at what are the things that we agree on, and
right.
and there's so many more things that we agree on. Yes, we have a couple little differences here, but we agree on way more than we disagree on, and that's what you need to focus on, and you need to move ahead based on that, and yes, there's going to be people that do things that you don't like. You know, that's the way life is. There's always people that are going to do things you don't like, and you work towards your goals of freedom for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I you know, on the scriptural point, you know, I think that if one has purified their heart and their mind, then there hardly couldn't be a disagreement within what I call the royal house, and the scripture does say to be of one mind, and therefore again I'd like things you know, the simplicity of things. So what we find within very often within organizations, and in particular the political ones, as I have seen it, and being in this arena for 20 years now, and a retired intelligence officer I used to communicate with said it rather succinctly, that any group bigger than 3 people has been infiltrated, and that's a stretch, but yet there's a truth behind that anything that starts to grow and become powerful or big, they send in their minions and they try to destroy it. And so whenever you see the disruption, the disharmony, or the you know, the arguing, or you know, and all of the bickering, all of that stuff going on, very often behind it you will see the double trouble. The Secret Handshake Club, and that's their whole objective is to disrupt the thing. So that's why everybody putting their hands to the plow and saying, what can I do to help, is far more significant than somebody having an opinion on something, because I think that the knowledge of law, when we talk about, you know, common law and how that works, or about just the right form of government or anything like that, and to rely on good people, just like Senator Bob Wilson here, when I heard him talk last week for the first time, I knew we had a true statesman, and I wouldn't lose any sleep at all knowing he was in office, as he is. And so, with that said, let's bring on our caller here, and we've got
yes. But I would like to add one thing.
Go right ahead. Go ahead.
That true Christians, you know, it's very interesting. What you're saying is true. And there are people that go in and cause divisions and dissensions and those kinds of things, but you know, it's I would like to say that it was very interesting to see that when the Republic of Texas had their Congress, that when I was Speaker of the House of Representatives, and I'm positive that they still do the same thing today, is they would always open their meetings with a word of prayer, and it was amazing how that when you have the word of prayer and you invite, you know, Spirit of God there, that all of a sudden a lot of those differences kind of disappear, and
right.
and things work a lot better, and so to a certain extent what you're saying is true, but you're right. There's no doubt that there's been people that have that go in there to try and create divisions and all the rest of it, but still, it's got to be. You just have to treat it like water off a duck's back, and you just keep moving ahead towards your goals, and you just you know, keep moving, and so the one thing that people are always pointing out is there's different factions in the Republic of Texas, and there's like at least 3 groups that I know about that claim to be Republic of Texas, and the only thing I can say is what does the Scriptures tell us? The Scriptures tell us by their works ye shall know them, and so, you know, there's only one group that is actually holding Congress. There's only one group that passes law and that has elections and that does everything that's required for a government, and so you have to use your own gray matter that's between your ears and follow what the scriptures tell us, and you'll know which one that you should participate in.
Very good, Glenn. Okay, we have Bob in Long Island. Bob, welcome to the call and the Republic of Texas. You're on with Senator Bob Wilson and Glenn Winningham. Bob, are you there? Bob, don't tell me after you've had your hand raised you're not there.
I'm here.
There you are. Okay, good to have you. You're on.
Okay. I'm trying to get this thing going. Okay.
And speak up, please, Bob. You're a little low.
Okay. I'll bring it right up here. I'm very, very interested about hearing about the Republic of Texas. And my question basically is, how do you operate as far as your government is concerned? Do you follow the common law only, or do you operate and allow the statutes of the state of Texas also to come in? I wanted to clarify, how do you operate and what you basically do that people would want to join and know that there was, in other words, you would be my neighbor, and as my neighbor, whether you were a Christian or not, my main thing is under the understanding that we have to work together to help each other when the enemy comes after us. So I wanted to know, what kind of law do you operate under, and also what documents do you carry as far as declaring who you are. I'm talking about ID, and also for the operation of your car, your truck that isn't in commerce. How do you identify yourself?
Great question.
Can you explain that?
Sure. And it's a question that a lot of people would like to know more about, so I'm glad you asked about. Let me start with the obvious thing, which is a driver's license. Now, you asked if we use common law. Yes, we do. And there are some other things that are very relevant, but we'll get to those later. I personally carry a Texas driver's license. And the reason is, if I don't, then in my case, it's difficult to board an airplane to go somewhere. I wouldn't have too much trouble with the highway patrol or anything like that, because I can always whip out the laminated copy I have of the 3 Texas Supreme Court rulings covering many years, each of which says there is no such thing in Texas law as a driver's license. Therefore, any failure to have such a thing that doesn't exist in Texas law is no problem.
It's no crime. No crime.
But there is a Texas commercial operator's license.
Okay.
And we don't argue with that. We just assume that people driving the big rigs that weigh 10 times as much as the average car would be tested and fully qualified and all the rest, But
can I interrupt you now, just for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now that you're...
And Bob, speak up, please. Speak up.
Okay.
Are you on the speakerphone?
Yes, I am.
Get off the speakerphone, please.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
How about now?
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Okay. My question is, I live in New York, so I'm trying to make a comparison.
Sure.
I can't get insurance, commercial insurance, for just operating my car unless I have to show them that I have a driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
So if your state says that you don't have to have a driver's license unless you're in commerce,
mm-hmm. No, it doesn't.
Then how do you get insurance?
The state of Texas does not say that. But the Supreme Court ruled that drivers of their private automobiles or cars don't have to have a driver's license. However, not one highway patrolman in 100 knows that, so we educate them. Meanwhile, I carry a Texas driver's license just to drive my car, but on the back bumper of my car, I have a big sticker in the biggest letters that'll fit on the back bumper that says private vehicle. And on the side window it says not for hire. In other words, I don't carry people or freight for profit. Okay? So if they stop me, first of all, they don't usually, because once they see it's a private vehicle, some of them have been through this with our people and realize that they're barking up the wrong tree. But if they do, I say, you must have me mistaken for somebody who's operating in commerce. I am strictly driving my car for myself. I don't use it for anything for hire. So, you're talking to the wrong person. Secondly, I say something like this. I don't know how much they pay you, but it's probably way too little considering the danger of what you're doing for us. However, you need to know that people driving their private vehicles for their own uses and not for commerce are not required by the Supreme Court of Texas to have a driver's license. In fact, the Supreme Court's ruled that there is no such thing. Now, I've got one here because I get tired of being hassled over it. And so just as a matter of, necessity. Because of necessity, I carry it, but it does not mean that I'm consenting to be governed by the rules of commerce in Texas. Secondly, the whole thing of who we are, most of us carry a picture ID issued by the government of the Republic of Texas.
Good.
Yeah. And more should, probably. And we expect that before too long, we will be able to get on airplanes, commercial airplanes, with that Texas Republic issued picture ID. Now,
can I interrupt you again?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Sure. That sounds good. But the thing is, when you go to an airport, you're in federal jurisdiction. You're in Washington, D.C. law. And they don't recognize, they probably wouldn't recognize it as of now. And I don't see why they should, because it's under their control.
Well, it's interesting that you say they don't, and that's a presupposition of yours and of most everybody else's, not to put the burden on you. But the Secretary of State is Hillary Clinton, and her travel schedule was listed on the Secretary of State's webpage for the U.S., and it said she's going to be traveling to these countries, one of which is the Republic of Texas. So they do recognize that we're here. It's even more extensive than that. All 49 of the states have their land records in the General Land Office in Virginia. But Texas does not, because our land office is in Austin, Texas. In other words, we were a nation, and they never were able to undo it. If you walk into the Capitol building in Austin, you're in the rotunda, and a big, maybe 20-foot diameter mosaic says Republic of Texas. They know there is a Republic of Texas, but they are just ignoring it.
Okay.
So we don't let them ignore it. The other thing that we do, though, to be proactive is something that most people have not really thought of doing, and that is formally and lawfully notifying them, putting them on notice that I am a citizen of the Republic of Texas and not under the jurisdiction of some, let's call it, corporate government. Because every government that you know about, whether it's New Jersey, New York, Michigan, is a corporation. And the U.S. is the giant corporation. And they know it is. because they went into bankruptcy about a century ago and came out of that bankruptcy as a corporate concern. Now, they act like they aren't, but they know they are. So we can put together a sworn affidavit, have it notarized, recorded in our courthouse or any courthouse, and use it, copies of it, to send to everybody in charge of every department that might have any concern about us, such as the Highway Patrol. Send to the head of the Highway Patrol. You're now on notice that I am not one of your corporate citizens, that I am a citizen of the Texas Republic, etc. Therefore, your rules, your laws on your books, which are really ordinances, statutes, codes, and regulations. They're not laws. They call them laws because they're trying to fool you. They are applicable to the people who have, let's say, subjected themselves to your jurisdiction, but they don't pertain to people from a different nation. Now, they never answer that notice and demand that we send to them. Why don't they answer? Because if they did, it would be an acknowledgement that the Texas Republic exists. So their failure to answer, in common law, says the affidavit stands and becomes public policy. An unanswered sworn affidavit stands as public policy. So these may sound like figments of somebody's imagination, but it's being done over and over, and the people who are doing it find that fewer and fewer, let's call them law enforcement people, have any interest in them at all. Now, for capital crimes, murder, kidnapping, rape, doesn't make any difference at all. They do have jurisdiction. Okay? But the laws, as I said, that they're talking about are, you have to carry a driver's license, you have to be insured, you have to do this, you can't do that, you can't swing wide making a right turn or left turn, on and on. In fact, there are so many tens of thousands of laws, no human being could possibly know them or keep track of them, and we're probably breaking a law every time we leave the house, maybe sometimes within our house. Why is that? Because that's how they collect revenue. We are the sheep, they are fleecing the sheep. Okay? So, along with this, noticing everybody, we put into the notice a fee schedule. Now, every one of their statutes, regulations, codes, and ordinances has a price attached to it, actually has a price range. It's up to the local judge or the presiding judge to decide whether you're going to fine you on the low end or the high end of that range. Why? If you cause somebody to lose an arm, there's a price. If you're caught jaywalking, there's a price, because they are revenue agents. It says in their own codes that judges are revenue agents.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it gets stickier and thicker, And so that's all it's about. It's about getting more money from people. Now, does that make us safer? I don't think so. In fact, It makes people angry, and angry people aren't very safe.
And that's why... excuse me. Desert, I hear the music in the background.
Yeah,
you got a commercial?
Yeah, we're at the top of the hour. Why don't you just hold your thoughts right there, and
okay.
We're going to be doing a station ID, and you are tuned in right here every Saturday night starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the RealPublicRadio.net, bringing you the Republic of Texas. It's been around a long time, ladies and gentlemen, 1836, I believe, and it never left us. It just was ignored for a while there, thanks to the overlay. And but it's de jure. It's what is pure, what is first. That which is first is superior, and it's not on paper like the fiction. It's the land, and you can walk on it, right? And it's big, bigger than you think, bigger than you can see on a map. And if you want to learn more about it, then just stay tuned. We have another hour to go on the Republic of Texas program. We're very honored to bring him on. And if you know anybody in Texas, in the state of Texas or in the state of confusion, either one, then give them a call, okay? This is a historical moment and event, okay, that requires bodies to make it something even bigger, okay? Because it's not going to happen without all of you, okay? It's the biggest dilemma I see within our world is inaction. Everybody wants to stand on the sideline, and they want to watch, you know, and but it's not going to have an effect. You know, like you could call. You probably know somebody right now. You could call, tell them about getting on the program, you know, and then find out how you can get involved. Maybe there's something you can do that you can offer to the Republic of Texas, you know, like when I was talking to Bob yesterday, and Senator Bob Wilson, and telling him about, you know, some products that are private that they you know, the scientists won't even bring it to a corporation, because if they did, they'd immediately shelve it because it's so powerful. Talking about free energy, talking about hydrogen and ozone in a combination that was they said couldn't be done, and it has wonderful effects on the body. And, you know, a product or a service that you can offer, you know, I mean, if you're into commerce, it could be good for business, you know, let alone good for a cause. But if you don't act, you know, another good idea then just goes by the wayside. We lose because of the brain dead matter in between those ears, you know. So think about those things, won't you? And I was really thinking that from last week we would have doubled our audience, you know, and it didn't happen. So, and I'm not telling you how many people are on, all right? But I mean, we had a big audience last week, and so you know, what gets you excited? If you're in the jurisdiction or the domain or the land mass we call Texas, then you know, let's see, how many people theoretically are in the state of Texas? I think it's about 7 million, something like that. So certainly we could have a few more people on this call here tonight. So why don't you, you know, call them, and we can even roll over. We roll with the program, you know. So we just try to do a 2-hour program. But if people come on, they haven't heard about this before, then we will try to answer any questions that anybody has. Okay, we're here to serve. That's what we do. I must be a glutton for punishment, and I am. But I enjoy doing it. I like to know. You know, I wanted to know, didn't you? Now that I know, I'm doing something. You know, I'm involved. I'm proactive. And so there's my speech for today. And just so you understand, we cannot operate on thin air. And I finally, after 4 years, decided to put the PayPal button right on the home index page, because we get almost 1,000 people every 7 days going to the website. And you know how many people make a donation after we have now, in 4 years, 4 million, something like 4.5 million downloads, where people have gone to our website with 200 pages, you know, of very important information. You know how many people each week make a donation anonymously when there's almost 1,000 people going there? None. Zip. Okay, last one was about 2 weeks ago, a $15 donation, and it was the first anonymous, you know, unsolicited or, you know, a stranger in like a year and a half. People just, they don't get it. They go there, they take, but they never give. And it blows my mind, you know, because I've been trying to give the shirt off my back, and people will gladly take it. You know, they take it from you. And yet, Bob knows. Bob's been my buddy for 10 years now, and he's had to buy me underwear and sleeping bags to keep me warm at night when this job doesn't pay. And I haven't had an automobile since 1996 because being a political activist just doesn't pay, okay? I always have a cheap $10 Walmart watch, you know, and I'm not complaining. I'm very happy because I wouldn't trade the knowledge and all the things I've learned and all these great associations I have. You know, it's great, you know, and I'm in the middle of a revolution in thinking, and so please, come on, back, won't you? And join us. Come on down for the first time, and we're glad you tuned in right here to the Republic of Texas radio program. Wow, the Republic of Texas has a radio program. I can't believe it. We must be crazy. Or, no, they're crazy, right? That's right. Still time to call your friends. I challenge you. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's big. Okay, now we're back on with Bob Wilson and Glenn Winningham and Brother Bob out there in Long Island, also known as he says, Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, that's the absolute truth. I'm very interested in this subject. I just happened to go to your website today and realize that you were on at 7 o'clock, and I made a point to come on after listening to that presentation by that gentleman in, I don't know if he's still in North Carolina. Is he still in North Carolina?
Bob, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was multitasking. Say that again?
The one that talked about the story of money.
Oh, that was Stephen Jacobson,
yeah.
mindcontrolinamerica.com, right? What was the question?
Is he still in North Carolina?
Well, yeah, here's another perfect example of the struggle. You know, we got Stephen Jacobson, anybody who came on prior to the Republic of Texas program. You know, I played Wake Up America, Exposing the Deception of Modern Money, and it's the all-time classic. Stephen worked in movies and TV up in New York City, and he saw the manipulation. He saw the mind control. His father was also a student of the mind and also a hypnotist. So Stephen had an insight into the inner workings of the mind, and then he saw the manipulation of the movies, and so he was fed up with it. He didn't want to participate in this mind control charade of mankind, you know, and so he decided to expose it, and he creates Mind Control in America, Exposing the Strategy to Manipulate Your Mind. We play this periodically, and anybody can get a copy by going to mindcontrolinamerica.com. And then he did the next all-time classic, which we played tonight, Wake Up America, Exposing the Deception of Modern Money. Now, these are million-dollar classics. I mean, you cannot ever produce an audio presentation with all of the splicing and dicing that he did, the clips, you know, and there was Abbott and Costello, you know, doing the money routine, and all the sounds, you know, it's genius what he did. And I used to listen to it when I was on the road driving 18-wheeler all over America, and I didn't even know Stephen back then, you know, and I was just like blown away. It'd keep me up late at night. I've listened to it now on the broadcast well over 50 times, maybe 75. And each time I listen to it, it's like hearing it for the first time. There's something there you haven't heard. And yet, you know, Stephen never made any money at it. You think there'd be, 1,000 orders a week or something with all the people out there. And it's not true. You know, he ended up homeless, okay? He hates it when I say that, you know, because he's staying at an ashram. You know, he's not actually, you know, like living in the gutter, but he lost his home and everything, you know, and it's because he gave everything he had to do what was right, and there's a price to pay, you know, and again, you know, so please go to his website, mindcontrolinamerica.com, and thank Stephen Jacobson, and get 2 all-time classics, and then share them with your friends, and let's have a revolution in thinking. Both Bobs, back to you.
Okay. I didn't know you were going to go into that deep.
Well, you opened the door, and I walked in.
Yeah, I know. I'm very much interested. The reason why I was doing this is because I have a cousin that lives in, I'm trying to see, he lives on the coast near the Gulf of Texas, and he's a CPA, therefore he's licensed. And I was thinking about maybe contacting him about this. But his main problem is he flies around the United States in and out of corporations, gets on airplanes, so he's constantly being felt up at the airport by the TSA, and he's tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly getting groped all the time, and he doesn't want to get radiated on. And I don't know what he's going to do, but I was interested in getting some information, and I was going to send him an email either tonight or tomorrow, most likely tomorrow now, but and talk about the Republic of Texas, because he's lived there most of his life. We knew each other when we were young, and then obviously he went to Texas when he was around 8, and now he's about the same age as me now, up there in the 60s. But anyway, I'm going to get off that. I want to ask either Bob or Glenn, what is? You must have a website. Can you tell me what the website is for the Republic of Texas?
Sure, that's easy. It is texasrepublic.info.
Okay, Texas Republic.
Texas and Republic are run together, so it's all one word.
Yeah.
Texas Republic.
Okay.
Info.
TexasRepublic.info.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can go there while we're online. And when you get there, the first thing you'll see filling the page is a proclamation. And it's a proclamation of what the Republic of Texas is, what we stand for, and so forth. I was asked to write that a year or so ago, and it includes some of these things. It basically says that freedom is a personal thing, an individual thing, and unless our freedom encroaches on someone else's right to be free, then don't bother us about our freedom. And that's just being a good neighbor anyway. That's common sense, and a lot of the common law is common sense. The problem is common sense is so uncommon nowadays.
Because it's basically. Go ahead.
Because people have been indoctrinated through government-controlled schools and books and TV and all the rest of it. They've been hypersensitized and expect to be offended every time they have an encounter with some other human being. Well, the first thing about freedom is don't get offended. The other guy's just exercising their freedom. Don't be so thin-skinned,
Yeah.
But the good side of freedom is when people are not always wondering if they're going to be allowed to do something or if they're going to get in trouble for doing something, they do a lot more. They accomplish more. They discover more. They develop more things. They perfect things. They accomplish a lot. Why do they do that? Well, because they either enjoy it or because they believe that they can earn a living doing it. And so freedom is important for things to work. One of the things that you haven't asked yet is there a real economy problem? The Republic of Texas won't have a problem with its economy because Texans are industrious people by nature. And we won't be inhibiting them. They won't have to ask permission to go start some enterprise. And that's a big thing. The negative side of that is the candidates who are running in the country to the north of us with the initials U.S. keep talking about the economy. The only thing that's going to help their economy is to get the heck out of the way. As candidates or as elected officials, get out of the way. Let them do it. In fact, tell others that if they're elected officer, they can tell other officers that are elected, just get out of their way and let's see how they do. They're going to do a lot better than we are, probably. We aren't the smartest people in Texas just because we're in the Congress, But we have tossed away all the presumption and presuppositions they tried to pump into us during our growing up years, and found out what really works and what's true for us. I do that in every area of life, and I encourage everybody to do it. Doesn't matter if it's math, engineering, art, music, you name it, Just try something and see what you can do. You asked about how we get away with this, more or less. I guess that was
Yeah, that was the truth. How do you manage, to get through all this? Because there's got to be a major problem, and that is the people. People don't do anything because they have so much fear on their mind.
Yep.
They're afraid to do anything because if they do and they make a mistake, that they feel that basically everybody's going to be pointing fingers at them,
Sure.
and so they worry about that.
Yep.
And the bottom line is, people, when they start fearing, they don't do anything. And how do you feel you can overcome? Well, even here, it makes no difference. The best thing is, like you're doing, you're exposing it by getting on tonight, for instance, and hoping that somebody in Texas hears this and decides that they have had enough of it. They're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah. I have an answer for that. It may not be a real popular answer, but it's the only one that works. And that is, until you know for sure who you really are, you're going to be afraid. Once you do know who you are, not who they say you are, but who you really are, then you don't fear people. You don't fear judges, police officers, anybody, because they just act like they have control. They really don't. They act like they have jurisdiction, but they don't. And so most of us who have been around a while and worked at it, learning this stuff, we know who we are. So you might ask, well, who are you? I could answer that in a lot of ways, but let me just, off the cuff, without rehearsing, say that I am a sovereign human being, a child of Almighty God who has all the jurisdiction, and other than God's jurisdiction, I don't admit to any other jurisdiction over me of any type, size, or variety. No institution has jurisdiction over me. Now, if they claim to, then I will answer them with a sworn affidavit and disabuse them of their mistaken presumption. But what is their viewpoint? Their viewpoint is they, by default, by tradition, presume that they are in charge and we are their servants, that we are, let's say, less important, that we are inferior, that we don't have enough knowledge. You know what that is? Give me your definition of that. When somebody that you might have helped elect to office feels like you are inferior to them. There's a name for that. It's arrogance.
Oh, yeah, arrogance, yeah.
I was going to say
unbridled arrogance, The fact is, they don't. And so the first thing to say to any of them, and a close friend of mine lives near me, does this routinely. Well, based on your approach to me, you must be a public servant. Isn't that right? Now, they can either give a yes or no answer. Usually they don't give any answer, but they know the answer. Are you with me, Bob?
Yeah, I'm still here.
You must be a public servant based on how you approach me. Therefore, I'm telling you that I am the trustee of a certain trust, and I'm directing you as a public servant to do the following. And that works, because most of their law is based on obscure trust law. So that's knowing law, but the knowing who you are is even more important for beginning.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if you believe that you don't know enough, then learn more. But if you believe that they really are superior, study them and see how inferior they really are. They're inferior in preparation. They're inferior in their knowledge of what is and what isn't.
I would like to add something in here as soon as you're ready there, Bob.
Yeah, just my last word is, each of us is a sovereign. And Glenn, in a minute, is going to tell you what that is. Sovereignty is what it is. Each one of us, human beings, is a sovereign. Go ahead, Glenn.
Well, you know, you have some good questions about ID and stuff like that. You know, I made up my own ID.
Hey, Glenn, hold on. Just so you know, because I want to balance out, you're overmodulating, and that'll distort. So just back off your microphone, and please continue.
I don't know what to do about overmodulating.
well, yeah, just pull the mic near your nose or your chin, just away from your mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How's that? Is that better?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Anyway, what I have done, I found, like, I've been in the courts numerous times, and I have found that, first of all, I made up my own ID, and I actually used it with the TSA. And if you have some groups, I have a website. It's called www.sovereigntyinternational.info. If you go there, you can contact me, and I've got a bunch of YouTube videos that I've uploaded. But so, anyways, I had a friend of mine that taught me how to do court work back in the 90s, and ever since then, I just file lawsuits against them, and I just dump on them. And it's I have found that the more belligerent you get, the more they run and hide for cover. Like I'll tell judges, I'll file criminal complaints against judges, and I'll file it right into the court case. And I'll tell them that you're a foreign agent of the Crown, you have no authority, you're not even a U.S. citizen, and I'll just start dumping on them, and I'll even tell them, and under United States Code, it's a felony to threaten a judge, and yet I'll tell them in my paperwork, and I've done this with the U.S. Supreme Court. I sent one of these to every member of the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'll tell them that I'm looking forward to seeing the day that you do that little dance they do at the end of a common law rope, and if you do it properly, there's nothing they can do about it, and the more belligerent you get, the more they run for cover. Because, again, do you know who you are? And Rice McLeod, most of my material, I started it from Rice McLeod, who was used to be Attorney General for the Republic of Texas way back when. He's passed away now. But I used basically Rice McLeod's material, and then I tweaked it and adjusted it, and now to the point that, and it's amazing how many times I have gotten people removed by building a case against them and then filing criminal complaints against them. A good example is if you go to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's website, you will see that there's an acting Attorney General there. And the reason is that I went and sent one of my notices out. I send out a notice under martial law. Everything's under martial law. And so I'm the king. And that's what I tell them. I'm the king. And you have no more authority over me than a Walmart rent-a-cop. And I'm going to be traveling in Pennsylvania without a driver's license, and I just go down the list, and it's like about 20 pages of legal-sized paper, which winds up being like about 100 paragraphs with court cases and all sorts of stuff in there. And anyway, so the Pennsylvania Attorney General, one of his hired thugs, went and decided to send me back a letter saying that if you drive in Pennsylvania without a driver's license, we're going to arrest your butt, take you down, and put you in jail. And so I attached their letter along with my letter that I'd sent them. They sent it back to me with all the little receive stamps and stuff like that on it. I attached that all to a criminal complaint, and I sent it to the U.S. attorney, and I accused them of treason, sedition, perjury of oath, multiple felonies. And now if you go to their website, they have an acting Attorney General there. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I did it to the Ohio Public Safety Commissioner. I did it to U.S. attorneys in Texas and in Arizona. I attached a criminal complaint to a writ of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court And 2 weeks later, it was against Alberto Gonzalez, and 2 weeks later he resigned, and he said he was hiring attorneys to defend himself from the Department of Justice. So I can't tell you how many times I have done this, and it is amazing. If you know who you are, if you really know who you are, they haven't got a shred of authority. None of their acts mean anything to anybody, but most of them are not even positive law. And you start pointing that stuff out, and I can't tell you how many times I've had border guards and stuff say, you know what, I'm late for dinner, get out of here, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And it's amazing how many times that's happened. And you just get belligerent, you get right up in their face, you start suing their butt, and it's like they're diving for cover. They don't want to talk about it. You bring up issues that they do not want to talk about.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want we've had Willa in Perrin, Texas, standing by. Can we bring her into the call, and then we can
go ahead.
Continue? You stay on, Bob, and we'll bring in Willa. I know she's a part of the Republic of Texas, and Willa, you're on.
Okay, well, actually, Bob and Glenn have just about given everything that I was going to give to the Bob in New York. I was going to tell him that when your fear gets to the point that you think I would as soon be dead as to live under this thing, then the fear dissipates. You still have it, but you still go on and you can do what you want to do to be free, because our rights have been turned to privileges, and we've accepted that. And I've been in the Republic of Texas now actually, I started back when we had a little movement called Take Texas Back Start.
Right. Now, Willa, before you go further, are you on a speakerphone?
Yes, sir.
Can you get off the speakerphone?
Yes.
Okay, that'll be better. Thank you.
Sometimes when I'm on this one, it starts screaming in my ear. That's why I use the speaker. Is this better?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Willa.
Definitely.
Please continue.
Yeah, and I worked not inside the prisons, but with the prison system for about 6 years through the CURE organization, which is now based it used to be in Austin, but it's now based in Washington, D.C. And with all of the people that I saw in the prisons for the stupid little things that they shouldn't have been there, and I know a lot of people say, well, everybody in there says they're innocent. Well, some of them are not. And only the people that have harmed other people or harmed property or done something to someone should be there anyway. They're putting people in jail and in prison for fines that should only be by monetary fines only. We've got all these court systems that don't even belong. They're not even really a court system. And until we learn these things, we do what they tell us to do and just obey like a bunch of sheeple. Well, now I'm probably I'm such a law-abiding person. I'm more like Pollyanna than anybody you know, but I'm tired. And I actually went through about 6 years one time with the IRS when we didn't owe them money. I thought I owed them money, but I knew that I had paid what I thought I owed and everything. And finally, in about 1991, with a 12-page letter, I finally beat the IRS. I have not filed since then, and I will not file again. And if any of the IRS people are listening, please don't come to my house. It's private property. It has Patton's land. Do not trespass. So I know who I am, and that was what I was going to tell Bob in New York. When you know who you are, then things begin to fall into place. And you still have fear because you know that they have the guns and the badges. They can do what they want to do, but there's remedy. And I've gotten to the point that my fear is not as much as my desire for the freedom for my children and my grandchildren. And so I'm going to go and do everything I can, and I'm law-abiding under God's law, because there's where my rights come from God, not the government.
Amen.
So really, this is the thing that some of the things I was going to say, but I think Bob and Glenn have really covered it, so I appreciate that.
That's
and
good.
I guess that's pretty much all I have to say, unless he has a question.
No,
one thing I'd like to add before we move on here is Willa hit on a point that I wanted to mention. Is I tell them in my criminal complaints, I tell them, go ahead, send your hired thugs over my house and have them take me out back and blow my brains out, because by the time I'm done with you, you're going to wish you did, and I'll do it all within the law. And they've never taken me up on it. I'm still around. So, and if it does ever happen, be glad for me, because I'm out of here. I think this is hell anyways. And I tell them, I am going to be the biggest pain in your butt that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, that's one thing I could never. Yeah, I just wanted to say I could never figure out why people like Alex Jones, that's on the GNC live broadcast. Brent Johnson, he's there, and my favorite friend Alfred Adisk, who constantly is on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on First Amendment Radio, educating people about what's going on, to try to get them to think. To me, it's amazing. I often wondered, how the hell, why would you want to stay in that place and be subjugated by the system? And I just couldn't see it, because I know I live here in Sodom Gomorrah. I live right outside the New York City limit, in one of the counties outside the New York City limit, and we're governed by rules and statutes and codes and this for everything. Just you have no freedom, and it's ungodly. But yet the people put up with it, and it totally amazes me why they don't do anything. So I realize the only thing I can do is learn learn how to be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove, and carry proper documents, and learn not to volunteer into the system by what you say and how you present yourself. And that's the hardest thing, because it's funny, when I go to these different churches around here, most of the people they're still inside that square. They don't come out. They think they're going to be raptured, and I keep on telling them, you're going to be raped. And it's
Bob,
just a matter of time. Go ahead.
The way they did this is like boiling the frog. They've put us in the warm water, and they kept turning up the heat, and we kept allowing it. And one by one, they've heaped these things upon us, and we've accepted them. And they just keep on doing more and more. Just for example, we're fighting for on private property rights in Texas. The taxes are just atrocious down here, and our Republic of Texas would be it is, because we are a nation, would be the 11th richest nation in the world. The resources that we have would cause us not to have to tax our people. The government could be run just by the resources and actually return some to the people. We have not 3 miles into the Gulf of Mexico. We have 3 nautical leagues off the coast. The oil wells, the minerals, and all of the things that we have in the Republic, if the government was not taking it, and, well, like, for example, we have like a $5 trillion rainy day fund. Well, in my counties down here, 2 of the counties, the counties under the federals, they just started burning, and I mean everything we have, the $1 million homes and everything else, we were burning to death down here during the drought and everything. Well, to me, that's when Mr. Perry should have come out, call him Good Hair Perry, should have come out and said, okay, we need to use this rainy day fund. What did he do? He asked Obama for money, and Obama just refused us. We didn't need it. We could have taken that money that was in reserve and helped these people in these counties and sent things. Well, we had volunteer firemen, from New York, from all the states nearly in the Union, come down here as volunteer people. FEMA went in and told them, you leave. You cannot stay here and help these people. We have firemen and people like that to help. Well, these people said, we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. and there was a group of women that was preparing food and everything for those firefighters. They told them they had to get out of there. They said, nope, we're not going to go. So the next day, well, the FEMA asked them, well, what group are you or who are you? And the FEMA was so stupid they didn't understand that 212 degrees is a boiling point. And they said, we're the 212 degree people. The next day, FEMA brought them in red T-shirts with 212 degrees on them. And those people stayed. Those women stayed and cooked for those firefighters. This is the kind of spirit we need down here. When you get tired enough, you come on down. We can use you. We need some officers.
Yes, but you can also have a de jure government in New York too, and that's one of the reasons that we want to talk about here is that even for people who aren't in Texas, you can have de jure government there as well, and you can basically do what we did in Texas, and. One of the things that I lived in Texas, or I should say I was in New York, I was working in White Plains, New York for a year and a half, and I never had any problem. And in fact, one time I was doing, I was on the Palisades Parkway. I'm sure you know where that is. And I was doing 85 and a 55. And I don't deliberately try and go and speed and break the code's rules and regulations, but I was actually just going as fast as the rest of the traffic, but I was the guy out front. And I came around this corner, and there was a highway patrol there. And what happened is I had already noticed the superintendent of the highway patrol, the state police in New York, and his cherries came on. And I took my foot off the gas, and I slowed down to 55. He didn't come after me. And another time, I had my cruise set. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. I was going to work. And my cruise was set at 80 in a 65. And this car comes ripping up behind me. I was passing this guy. The guy was probably going about 78. Anyways, I was passing this guy. This car comes ripping up behind me. So close, he got so close on me that his headlights disappeared behind my tailgate, and I just left my cruise set and I inched past this other guy, and when it was safe, I moved over into the slow lane, and the guy took off, and it was a highway patrol, and he had to know how fast I was going because he was going faster, and so I guess what my point is that you can have lawful government. The problem is that everything's under martial law, and they're making certain presumptions. But and nothing they do is it's all under color of law. They have no authority, and all you have to do is start pointing that out, and they will fall into line. The reason they're doing what they're doing is because you're not holding them accountable. That's really what it comes down to, is you don't know who you are and you're not holding them accountable. That's really what it comes down to.
And I agree 100%. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, you got to carry the proper documents with you in your car or on your own person, and present them in a timely manner. And it's what you say and how you present yourself that determines basically your standing on who you are. And I agree 100%. Most people don't know what to do, and basically they automatically, by what they say, they automatically give jurisdiction by the way they open their mouth, and they go into argument with the so-called authority personage that approaches them. And I like to see more schooling where people can learn how to address it in a proper manner, how they can show, present themselves in a timely manner, and yet honor them, but also expect respect back. And if they don't get it, to tell these people they're not honorable, and let them know about it.
If you do your procedures, I have a procedure that I developed using Rice McLeod's material, and if you follow that procedure properly, they will see you and they will turn and run the other direction. They will want nothing to do with you. And if you do it properly, anywhere in the United States, even in foreign countries, I think it would work in any country there's common law. But the United States is especially good that way because there's Congress. They have passed some statutes like Title 18 United States Code, Section 241 and 242 that talk about violating your rights under the color of law. It's a felony, and so if you lay the foundation properly, then they don't have a shred of authority. They know it, and they will see you and turn and run the other direction. But if you're in Texas, then it's even better. But anywhere in America, you can do that. But what I would suggest you do is I've uploaded, I've got like 80 videos that I've uploaded to YouTube. You can go there and watch those videos. Those are private information shares I've done all over the place. And I have groups that I've set up at Yahoo and Google where I've uploaded documents on how to the procedures that you can follow. And once you get some people together that are network with some people that are in your area, then you can start to establish your government like we've done in Texas.
That sounds great. And this is all if I go to texasrepublic.info?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, you can find out about the Texas Republic at texasrepublic.info, and I've also got my own website at
what is
Sovereignty
that?
International. That's www.sovereigntyinternational.info.
Okay, I think I wrote. Yeah. Okay, I got that. I wrote that down already. Okay. Well, I appreciate that very much, Glenn. You sound like you definitely are a very interesting man with. Who knows who he is and presents himself accordingly. My main thing is to try to survive here, which is almost getting impossible because we're going broke here, staying in this state, and we realize that we just can't keep on going. And I know one thing for sure. I mean, I've heard about all the fires that have been going on in Texas and how things are drying up. And I don't know how long that's going to keep on going. I guess it's in the hands of God, or is it in the hands of the people that run HAARP, HAARP, up there in Alaska? So anyway, I really enjoyed listening tonight. And one other question I have, because I know Bob says he still carries the state of Texas driver's license. You don't have to tell me what you have on it, but do you make any variations upon what you put down for a signature?
No, I haven't, but others might. But
okay.
I'm doing it their way just to reduce the confrontational aspect of any encounter, but I don't hand it to them. If they ask for it, I may say, and I may say to them first, I'll need your business card first.
Yeah.
And so it's an exchange. Then I lay my license, plastic laminated license, on my dashboard near the window. Say, there it is. Because if I hand it to them, it's implying that I'm subjecting myself to them.
That's right. It's like surrendering it. They don't have to give it back.
Mm-hmm. You're essentially saying, I want to be a surety for this fictitious entity. That's essentially what you're doing. So that's a good move. That's a good move there, Bob, and I'll have to keep that in mind if I ever. Yeah. But I tell them I don't have one, and that works pretty good for me. And I tell them that I give them my picture ID that I made up, and that's worked pretty good for me. But if I ever did something like that, then that would be the way to do it. I agree 100%.
And there's more to that. When they hand you their business card, and believe me, they have to have a business card, that makes a contract between the two of you where they agree to be a public servant on your behalf.
That's absolutely the truth. Because let me interject, I lost my wallet. I called the 7th Precinct. They sent a squad car to my house, and I was he was asking me some questions, and I said, "Do you have a card for me so that I can make contact?" Because they had to give me a way to call back and get the case number, and he had his own personal name on it and contact number and everything else on it.
Probably had
I
his
thought
badge
that
number.
was. It didn't have his badge number, but I wrote his badge number on it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and I. Go ahead.
Others can tell you why, but my friend Dan has found that once you inform them that by handing you their card, that is a contract. And then he says, I am holding the office of the executor of this trust, or whatever title he uses, and therefore here's what I need you to do for me according to our contract. That goes along with, you are a public servant, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is, but we can find out for you.
Okay.
I don't know the rationale behind it.
If I could just jump in real quick, I want to welcome our new listeners coming onto the line. And you are tuned in right here to the Republic of Texas Saturday night conference call and program, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so tell your friends about the broadcast. Coming up after we're done here this evening, we're just going with the roll. We're going to be bringing you a special presentation on my interpretation of movies based on symbolism and word etymology. Okay, so that'll be coming up right after the Republic of Texas. If any of you out there have a comment or a question, *5 will raise your hand, and we'll be glad to take your call. Okay, so thanks for tuning in, and also tell your friends, okay, all around America, actually, about the Republic of Texas and what we're doing here, because it takes people to make things happen. Okay, Bob, back to you.
Well, yeah, we got two Bobs.
Well, that's
anyway,
what I was saying.
Yeah, I know. I really enjoyed tonight because I love to. I have many things on my mind here, and I wanted to know how to find out some information. So when I email my cousin and have some kind of background on what I'm going to talk about, and see if he would be interested in possibly joining. He's at the retirement age.
One of the things there, Bob, is we have our congressional sessions on the second Saturday of each month, 12 months a year.
Okay.
And they are usually held in the town of College Station, Texas, which is next to Bryan, Texas. And so he can find out on our website exactly where it is. And if he can get over there and meet some of the people, they can help him personally.
Okay.
Get very personal help.
So that's, you said the College Town, Texas? It's right next to Bryan?
College Station. I think that means that it started as a postal station for the college.
Okay. So it's College Station, Texas.
Texas, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We've got two more callers. Bob,
okay,
did you have any other thoughts?
No, that's basically it. I appreciate the opportunity to share and care this evening and to learn a lot because Texas always intrigued me and for the state and I got quite a few friends down there and I never really did have a chance to ask them why they ever wanted to live there, But the main thing is I'm happy just to be on tonight, Desert. So
yeah,
I want to thank Bob there and Glenn and Willa, yeah, for being on tonight. And I'm going to finally get something to eat tonight because I haven't had my dinner yet. So I'm going to say goodnight, and I'll be listening next week if I get a chance, or I'm going to grab something to eat.
Hey, Bob.
So good night.
Don't forget tomorrow night we've got the Starfire Chronicles. Okay, with yours truly, Desert Owl and Sage. And prior to that, at 6:30, we start at 6:30 tomorrow night, Sunday night, with We Are All Doing Time, the Victim in Prison Outreach Program with Tim Bowman and myself, and then at 8 p.m. Sage and myself. So come on by if you're not doing anything. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll
Good
see
night.
you there. Good night, Bob.
Good night.
And thanks for calling in. And now we've got several more callers standing by, Bob, and let's bring on Colorado Springs. Colorado, just state your first name, if you would, please.
Yes, it shows up to be Colorado Springs, but it's really Texas.
And what's your first name?
Sam?
Sam, good to have you. You're on with Bob.
I think I remember you from years back. I don't know if you remember me or not, but I met you, I believe, up at Temple or something like that.
Your voice almost sounds familiar, but give me a clue.
I think you were having a child custody case problem where if I remember right, the CPS took your daughter and you were going to go down to Corpus and try to get her back, and I called you up and told you I'd be glad to go with you down there.
Well, Sam, your voice is really familiar, and I'm trying to remember the. Give me more clues. Give me.
I think I met you at a Temple meeting, and I remember you were a truck driver passing out some of them leaflets, and I used to be a truck driver myself. I just retired out of it about 3 years ago, and I'm more actively involved now than what I was before. And I know.
Sam, would I know your last name if you said it?
Yeah, I'll say it. I ain't got nothing to hide. It's spelled P-Y-K-A. You might know it.
Sam Pike.
Yeah,
it's really funny. Your voice. Yeah, well, I've been through a lot of stuff, and Rush Limbaugh says he's got half his brain tied behind his back. Mine melted, and after all they did to me, I've been through several odysseys. But Sam, I sure appreciate. Between last week and tonight, I can't get over how many old friends have resurfaced, and it's just really great to hear from you. And we can always talk on the side. My number's on the contact page of therealpublicradio.net. But you're on with Bob Wilson right now, Sam, and good to have you.
Well, I was going to say hello to Senator Bob, and I know Senator Bob knows me.
Yeah.
It's Congressman Sam down here.
Right.
And
how are you?
Good to hear you folks. It was just a pleasure getting to listen to y'all, and it just Glenn, I don't know him personally. I've heard a lot about him, and everything was impressing, and good to hear Willa's voice and the guy up in New York. He might just consider us part of his extended family.
That's right.
Well, he does. Yeah. Hey, Sam, real quick, what town were you in back then? Maybe that'll help me.
I was at that time. I was living here in Jackson County.
Jackson County.
Not too far from Victoria.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you met a lot of them guys from Victoria. And I knew you
well,
were really down in the dumps back then about your daughter and everything.
How did that all work out that was the toughest thing in my life. With the state of Texas kidnapping my daughter, and I'm still suffering from all that today. When you're just dislocated. So, but anyway, good to have you, and I want to welcome our new listeners coming onto the line as well. Sam, please continue.
Well, I just, like I say, wanted to say hi to everybody, and it was just so, just a blessing to get to talk to y'all and hear y'all for the last almost 2 hours, and I'll get off of it and let somebody else talk.
Hey, Sam, before you get off the line.
Yes, sir.
It's just possible that Bob, who called earlier, who has a cousin who's a CPA living near the Gulf of Mexico, might be somewhere near you. So maybe.
Well, I don't live too far from the coast here,
Yeah. So that CPA cousin of Bob from Long Island may be a neighbor, or maybe you guys could stay in touch with each other once we find out.
Right.
I can connect you guys. Just contact me, and I can connect you to Bob.
Good.
Following the coastline up, like from Corpus to Houston, I'm about halfway in between.
Okay.
So that's, like say from Corpus to Galveston. I'm probably about 14 miles from the saltwater.
Okay. Good. Well, there's a possible connection. So, hey, see you at Congress.
All right. Well, I guess we'll be seeing you up there at College Station in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
All right. Good night, you guys. Love y'all.
Good night.
Sam, real quick, do you know the gentleman out of Cuero, Texas, that they raped and pillaged him and took all of his property? And
yes, Mr. John Hamilton.
Yeah, John Hamilton. How is John doing? He had cancer at the last I talked to him.
He's supposed to be. I believe he's doing all right now. In fact, they were talking about trying to bring him in as some kind of a justice or something, a chief justice for that county. I hope it works out.
Right. Do you talk to him very often?
It's been a long time, but
okay.
I know the guy real well. I haven't seen him for a long time, but
right.
He says used to be good about coming to the meetings, and he always said that you guys are my heroes.
Right. Well, he was the one who he was a rather novel character. Number one, he played a part in the John Wayne movie, the old-time classic, The Alamo, and he was a little boy in the movie. But then he apparently, in the 1990s, was riding the horse from, I guess, Cuero or wherever, all the way to the Alamo horseback. So it was a rather prolific thing that he was doing at the time. And that I know that the state of Texas, literally the Freemasons, obviously, were just raping him and taking all of his property. And Rice had given him some really good technique to whip up on them in the courtroom, and he actually walked out with the order of the court once, kicking his heels, because he ended up in a ditch one time with the thugs, what they did to him. So I'm glad to hear he's
that
still
was
around.
A rotten thing the way he got done. I mean, it's just people just don't realize how folks like that have been done. I went to one of the court hearings in Victoria one time, and two of the bank's attorneys were there, and John looked around and saw both of them sitting over there smiling, and he told the judge about it and said, "Look at that." And then another time, at a foreclosure on a sheriff's cell there in DeWitt County at the Cuero courthouse, the sheriff come out to auction his property off, and several of us went up there to give him support, but we tried the best we could, and it was sad, heartbreaking, to see just how rotten this system is. I mean, it's
yeah.
And I just hate to see people getting abused like that,
Right.
In the same way you've been abused. I know you've been abused by the system and with your daughter and everything. And
you don't know the rest of the story. I after I left Texas, I went to. I thought I was going to R&R in 1998 in West Virginia, invited out there by my radio sponsor, and I moved right into the middle of a sting operation. And I'm not going to go there because I did that last week, and that's on the audio recording. Anybody can get it. But and then I had another ordeal when I went back to Texas in what was that, in Upshur County, East Texas. Let's note that county very well, because in there I had remarried, and my wife at the time had 3 daughters that I rescued her. She was a radio listener of mine, rescued her, and from a very terrible situation of sexual abuse and violence with the husband that she had, so the county that we were in there loved to get his ex parte daughter 26 counts of perjury, and then they kidnapped her daughters there in Upshur County, East Texas, and it turned out we discovered that this county in particular was involved with ritual kidnapping of children. They do it typically to the poor, the ignorant, and the strangers, and we were the strangers because we were passing through that county, and therefore they targeted us when we were putting paper in the county record. We were trying to record documents, and they wouldn't let us, and they targeted us and they're as prime targets, and took her 3 daughters, and ultimately, and so I nailed them to the wall with a 26-page affidavit and a 50-page book that I published all together, and because they wouldn't allow me access to the public record, I just made 55 copies of the book and sent it all over the downtown square, to the churches, to the businesses, to the museum, and then I laced the county. Did you get any response
from the church?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you the response real quick. Then I laced the entire county with flyers, 10,000 flyers through the entire county. I just threw them out at rural mailboxes, a handful of flyers, and kept on going down the road, exposing the criminal ritual kidnapping of children in Upshur County. And so because I had nailed them to the wall with this 21-page affidavit that they had committed all these crimes against us, and that they were, a fictitious court, and that they were involved, that they're kidnapping. I found a party that was an insider, a grandmother that had been fighting them for years, found out that the babies out of Upshur County, Texas, ended up as far away as Africa, sold into slavery, ritually sacrificed. The parents, if any of the parents would try to fight back and to get their children, then they would frame them for drug dealing and put them in prison the rest of their lives. A total criminal cartel in Upshur County, Texas. Be very careful if you're in Upshur County, Texas. And so because of my documentation, that literally when I brought it into that phony court that they had, and they were all the girls that love kidnapping children were reading it, and they're all giggling, thinking, like my material was some type of a joke. By the time they got to the end of it, they weren't smiling anymore. And then the next thing they did, we were in a cabin out.
Shed some light on that bunch of rats.
Yeah, we were in a cabin out in the woods. Next thing that happened is they sent a vehicle onto the property at high speed, did a donut at the top of the hill, left the property, and then the next day a twin-engine airplane did a 360 around the property. And then soon after that, a photo reconnaissance airplane in about a week or two started doing bank rolls off of the property, and we understood that it was the BATF, and that the local establishment was now hiring the BATF to come down on us. And so I immediately sent a copy of the document by registered mail to the BATF, letting them know that we weren't religious fanatics, that we didn't have any guns on the property, that we were victims of a crime, and and yada yada. So we ultimately had to escape. They were sending a guy pretending to be retarded onto the property who tried to block the road, and we just had the U-Haul truck packed when and I had to borrow money to get out of there. We were stuck there, and there was just an inch. He blocked the culvert, but there was just 1 inch room to get past that truck where he was trying to block the road. I thought we were going to be shot before we got off the property, and then I just kept heading towards the highway, got on the interstate. Next thing you know, we were in New Mexico. But I exposed the criminal ritual of kidnapping in Upshur County, Texas, and that document is available to anybody who wants it. But it's I've been. Go ahead,
No
Cam.
doubt about it. This state of Texas just been run by a bunch of thugs and crooks. It's all
yeah, but International Freemasonry is the world federation under the banking, Kabbalistic Zionist banking, and they are the real secret military force that has infiltrated the entire world. They're in every community in the world, you see, and it's a world. It's a military, and therefore they are the enemy. They purport themselves as being benevolent, brotherhood, and just want to do good business. Well, their business at the top is the control and destruction of mankind under the Vatican, and it's beyond that. I take it all the way to India and Hindustan, and that's the stuff we reveal on my programming tomorrow night on the Starfire Chronicles. But so I've got my stars, and I am a veteran of this voodoo because I never knew when I became a political activist back around 1992 there in Houston, Texas, that I would ultimately have gone through the hell that I've been through with this so-called New World Order, a state of confusion. I was a historian, just studying scriptures, collecting lost writings, and I knew too much. My mind allowed me to figure too much stuff out, and it's been my Achilles heel. But I don't regret it. But if you offered me $1 million to go through everything I knew I was going to have to go through, I couldn't have done it because the pain has been great. But anyway, I'm still here, ticking, and glad to have everybody on the call here tonight.
When I leave the face of this earth, Desert Owl, I'd just soon go in rags and stand up and die fighting for freedom, brother.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, when we're young, we fear death, right? And we're like, we don't know how we can meet that type of a fate. But the truth is, like Glenn had, I think, indicated earlier here tonight, man, my ticket out of here is a favor, because I have no love for this world at all.
That's the way I am. I figured like this: sooner I get out of here, I go home to be with my father and get out of this hellhole.
Absolutely, Sam. Good to have you. We do have some more callers. Sam, was that it?
That's it, brother. Good talking to you. Give me a jingle sometime. You got this number.
Well, absolutely. And you got my number on the contact page on the realpublicradio.net. So love to talk to you on the side, Sam. Good talking to you.
Okay, anytime, brother. If you ever get down here, give me a visit.
We'll do it. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and we're going to go to, let's see what we have here. Indianapolis, Indiana. Just state your first name, if you would, please. You're on with Bob.
Yes, actually, I'm from here in Texas, Ellis County. But I suffer badly from arthritis, and
And what's your first name, sir? What's your first name?
Michael.
Michael, good to have you.
Yeah, and I'm disabled, and to try and get these legislatures or anybody else to take seriously with the quote unquote state of Texas to get medical cannabis approved, it's like, oh man, you must be off the wall. But the medicines that they give you now for, like, because I've got it bad in my knees and my hips and that lower back, and the stuff that they give you, the only one that really works well, it'll make you sick though, and there are, of course, now if you self-medicate with herbs, well, they do a really drug test on you, you can lose your Medicaid or your Medicare or insurance if you have any, and it's just, it's sad. There are other states, California and Colorado and other states that have made it legal to, for medical usage. And to get these guys here to try and do this, because the DEA is making so much money here in Texas, it's just not funny,
Well, we said earlier in the show, Michael, that their whole system is about money, making commerce of the people, making money off the people. And so it's no surprise the Republic of Texas basically won't have the sets of codes, ordinances, statutes, and regulations that the state of Texas has in their corporate system. We will have common law, so if you, in the Republic of Texas, if you do something that harms another human being or damages their property, then they can ask a sheriff or a judge to moderate between the two of you, to intervene, and nothing will happen unless it's investigated and it's found that there's reasonable harm done, and that there's something provable that who did it. And in that case, it would be aired out before a common law jury of people who knew you, who, in other words, who were in the same town, in the same vicinity, had an opportunity to know your background.
Right. I'm
so
very familiar with
the thing about
that.
just automatically failing a drug test would not even apply.
Right, I understand that. With the Republic, because I've been a member for many years, and the thing is, though, that you have to deal with in everyday life. Unfortunately, you have to deal with these bureaucrats who want to throw you in jail, these, as I like to call them, revenue enhancement officers, you know, and sit there and warehouse you and set bonds on you, and that they sell, you know, that they make money off on Wall Street and everything else.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to deal with them, and you know, I have to be realistic in the idea that, well, if I self-medicate and they catch me doing it, they may throw me in jail, and that's just wrong, you know.
Well, why would you consent to have a test run on yourself?
Well, I wouldn't consent. That's not the point. But if you're on Medicaid, which I happen to be because I have no other insurance and I'm disabled, etc. If they decide to run a test on me, you know, they can, you know, like when they're drawing blood, or if I have to give a urine sample or something for another test for my kidneys, well, they just run that, and they, you know, if they do that, well, you're just up a creek without a paddle, because they can, you know, take your Medicaid and away from you, and then you're pretty, you know, I'm a heart patient, and you know, if you lose your ability to buy medication for your heart, you're in real problems, you know.
Yep. Don't know that there's any ready-made answer for what your problem is. If some other caller knows, or if Glenn happens to know something there, why, chime right in now.
Well, my attitude is that my sister-in-law is an herbalist, and she regularly cures cancer all the time, and she says she can cure AIDS, although I don't believe she's ever had an AIDS patient. The reason I'm mentioning that is that the alternative remedies are available, and what I would do is suggest that you look into that. And as far as your disability, I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but again, there are alternative remedies, and in my opinion, they call it a healthcare system, but really it's a death care system. And the reason I say that is that the whole system is designed to manage your death, so that they can make as much money from it as possible, and reduce the population at the same time. And so my attitude is that I want nothing to do with any of that stuff, and I don't have anything to do with it. If you're stuck in that system, then I kind of feel for you, but in a way, again, it's voluntary. You've agreed to it, and that's, I don't know what to say.
Well, I understand, but mine is heart problems, because I've got a severe coronary artery disease and angina, and those are about the only. I have to take some blood pressure medications, but I watch very carefully, what they try and prescribe for me, because I know, in the long run, they're trying to poison me and kill me, very slowly, so that they can make as much money off of me as they can. But I try and watch what they're trying to prescribe for me, and if it looks bad, I don't take it.
Right. Michael, I just want to jump in. My phone numbers are on the contact page on therealpublicradio.net, and call me during the week. Some information I was sharing with Senator Bob Wilson yesterday or day before, may be helpful to you. I can direct you to some people with a wonderful product that is, not on the mainstream shelves, and excellent scientists. So give us a call, and I'll be glad to pass that information on to you.
I would like to add as well that that my sister-in-law has had issues, like there was a cardiac surgeon that needed a triple bypass, and actually the story starts with a guy from Canada that was in Arizona, and he had chest pains, and he went to see this cardiac surgeon, and the cardiac surgeon checked him over and said, well, you need a triple bypass. And so the guy from Canada said, well, that's okay. I'm from Canada. I'll just go back to Canada and get it done for free there. And so the next year, the same guy was in Arizona, and the guy went to see this doctor. Obviously, it wasn't because of chest pains, because the doctor checked him over and said, well, you know, you were here last year and you needed a triple bypass, and now you don't need it and you didn't have the surgery. And so what did you do? And the guy said, well, I went to see this herbalist, and that was my sister-in-law. Anyway, so then what happened is turns out this doctor, who happens to be a cardiac surgeon, he's the guy that does the triple bypass, he's got chest pains. And so he goes to see my sister-in-law. He knows he needs a triple bypass. And he goes to see my sister-in-law in Canada, and she checks him over. She says, he doesn't tell her what the problem is. She checks him over. She says, well, you got some blockages here, and you better take care of it. And so she gives him these herbs, and she says, take these herbs and come back and see me in 6 weeks. He goes, he takes the herbs, he comes back to see her in 6 weeks. She checks him over. She says, okay, you're fine. You can go now. And he doesn't believe that, goes to check himself. And then, and doesn't believe that, gets a friend to check him, and 3 months later, she gets a phone call from this doctor. He just walked out of surgery because he couldn't cut into somebody, knowing that it wasn't going to do him any good. And so after she talked to him for about 15 or 20 minutes, I guess from what she tells me, he decided to quit the medical profession and go back to school to become an herbalist. So I guess what my point is that. The herb that she recommended for that is called hawthorn, and it can be anything hawthorn. In other words, hawthorn is a tree, and I don't know what part of the country you live in, but the hawthorn tree grows, you know, in most parts of America, especially in the Northeast. You see them all over the place. You could have a hawthorn tree in your backyard, and it can be anything hawthorn, hawthorn root, hawthorn berries, hawthorn bark. You know, anything, hawthorn leaves, and you can easily find it at any health food store. And the hawthorn is a food herb. In other words, what it does is it's some herbs you have to be careful and not take too much of because they can hurt you. But hawthorn is not one of them. You can take too much of it and it won't hurt you. And,
it's regenerative. It's regenerative.
And so what happens is that your body uses what it needs and discards the rest. And so, if you have anything with blockages in your arteries or anything like that, hawthorn is the thing to take. Now, to understand the reason why you get those blockages is because of homogenized milk. Because what happens is that when they homogenize the milk, it breaks the fat particle down into tiny little shards that pass right through the wall, the lining of the wall of your stomach, directly into your bloodstream, and these sharp little shards scar the inside of your arteries. Otherwise, cholesterol would not collect. But because of the scarring, it gives a place for this cholesterol to collect, and so then it's able to form these blockages. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I don't drink much milk, but I do drink some. I like ice cream. Actually, I don't drink any milk, but I like ice cream, and I like yogurt and things like milk products, cheese, and so. I even take this hawthorn, and if you have issues with your heart, then I would suggest that you might want to take that. But also, what I would suggest is find someone who does a live blood analysis. What they do is they'll show you your blood under the microscope, and then based on that they'll tell you what's wrong. And that's essentially what my sister-in-law does, and there is none of these diseases that can't be cured, in my opinion. None that I know about. Certainly, you know, I had a thinning disc. I had sciatic nerve problems, shooting these sharp pains shooting down my leg and into my foot. I couldn't sit down. And I went to my sister-in-law. She gave me this comfrey salve, and everything's fine now. And so, you know, the medical profession is in business to make money, and this is one thing that we all have to get our heads around because they are not there to help you, you know, and not to say that they're all crooks, okay, because most of them, in my opinion, are not. They just don't know. But the bottom line is that we got to start looking at alternatives and quit relying. I mean, what do the scriptures tell us? You know, the scriptures tell us not to rely on the arm of flesh, and we need to, you know, get away from you know, all of this stuff. You know.
Right. Very good, Glenn. And by the way, that to go further on what you were talking about with the milk and all that, Dr. Oyster, back in the 1980s or 1970s, came out with the book series of books called the XO Factor. And once they homogenized and pasteurized milk, essentially synthesizing it, that's when it became a dangerous product. Whole milk is not necessarily bad for you, but once you alter it and synthesize it, you know, this is what they use to make paint bases and buttons and other, you know, very interesting industrial products with, once they synthesize it. And then people consume this pasteurized, homogenized milk, and then it becomes the glue. Oh, they make Elmer's glue out of this milk, and therefore that's what's sticking all of the garbage in the arteries. It's taking the what do they call it, the cholesterol, and it's just sticking in there. It's, the body makes cholesterol naturally, so cholesterol is not bad for you. It's the fact that the glue is causing it to get stuck inside the arteries and building up. And so it's good to hear about that, Hawthorne. Do you want to give out your sister's contact information by any chance?
She really doesn't want to be doing it. She has people coming to her from all over the world, quite frankly, and
okay.
and she would prefer not to even be doing it, and she wants to get out of it. And so the only thing I could say is look for someone who does live blood analysis.
Yeah,
They do the same thing that she does.
Yeah.
And you know, they can help you.
Right.
But you know, that would be all I could say. You know.
Well, the ancient Shaolin. Yeah, I mean, you were saying that the Hawthorne is food grade, and the Shaolin said that you know, let your food be your medicine. Oh, that was Hippocrates, actually. Let your food be your medicine. Let your medicine be your food. And the ancient Shaolin priests actually followed that same pattern. The medicinal herbs will create weakness, just like drugs will. And anyway, we're digressing, I guess, from the Republic of Texas, but a lot of good information from a lot of good people here. And okay, so Michael, did you have a follow-up? Or no, he's dropped off now. So we're going to go to Uvalde, Texas. State your first name and where you're calling from. Or you're in Uvalde, excuse me. First name.
Cecil.
What, Cecil?
Yes.
Good to have you, Cecil. You're on with Senator Bob Wilson.
Yeah, okay, I'm directing this at Glenn and all others if they want to listen. Have you ever put the governors on notice the fact that they are a chartered member of the UN and they are the de facto state, and they are under their charter, and they can be charged with crimes, and by noticing them, that puts you in a retrospect that you've noticed the top man of the state, of any of his underlings that would come against you, the governor is going to be held responsible for the acts of their underlings. Just asking, have you ever done that?
Well, you know, it's like Ford or GM. Okay, Ford and GM make rules and regulations for their employees, and they mean nothing to me. And so, as long as I stay out of Ford and GM's internal rules and regulations, then it has nothing to do with me. And so, what you're talking about is in commerce. And you know, I stay away from commerce. I avoid it like the plague. I think that commerce is essentially satanic law, and it's anything getting involved in commerce is just asking for trouble. And so I stay away from it. I avoid it like it's the plague. That's not to say I don't go in there, but I certainly make it like so that they're not dragging me in there. So you know, that means nothing to me.
Well, you do say it when you say about your vehicle, and they won't stop you. I'm saying the same thing. I'm not in commerce. You're not in commerce. But if you put the governor under notice, instead of that local agency, you bring the criminal affidavit to the attorney general and direct it to the governor, who's responsible for the whole state and all their agents. You don't have to be in commerce for them to stop you. What I'm saying is...
I essentially, what I do is I serve my notices on anybody that might have something to do with me, or might think about doing something with me, or if I think something's going down, I'll start serving it on anybody in there that where I think it's coming from. In other words, like where I'm at right now is in Delaware. And so I serve the Attorney General with one of my notices. I also serve the State Police, the Director of the State Police. I find a living soul. I don't serve it on the government per se. I serve it on a living soul because I make it personal between me and you, Mr. Attorney General. And I expect you. I'm holding you to your oath of office. And I expect you to honor that oath of office. So it's essentially what you're talking about, really,
right.
But I make it personal between me and you, Mr. County Sheriff, or me and you, Mr. Attorney General, and I'm going to hold you personally responsible, but for all of your underlings, and that's essentially what I do, and I think that's why they put me down as sovereign in their system, because there was a guy in Texas that come up to me. He told me about that a police officer came up to him and asked him, how come, he said, this cop said, quote, why is my computer telling me to leave you alone? And I think that's essentially what it's saying about me, is that it's telling them just leave me alone. And,
right.
as long as they do that, they don't have a problem with me.
Right, but I'm trying to get it across to them that that's what they have to do. Like you say, I say, they have to go to the top man, name him as that private man on his oath, in his capacity, that if you come against me, you are doing a criminal act and you shall be charged as such. And that's exactly what you do, and that's exactly right. I've served a criminal affidavit against the Highway Patrol, the commissioner. In fact, he wasn't registered in the state to do business. And the fact is that he was doing highway robbery on the highways. Same thing, and he'll red flag you just like he red flagged us. They won't bother us. They won't even stop our vehicles.
Yeah, if you do it properly, they'll see
right.
you and they'll turn and run the other direction.
They have six agents in California Southern Division were sent to the Northern Division after I served the affidavit against them, because they didn't want them to be able to be brought to court, I guess. And then they red flagged everyone that was named, and they won't stop any of our vehicles. So in essence, what we're trying to say is they need to stand up. You have the right to move from one point to another, not be in commerce. You're not in commerce. And that's all I was just trying to say. But if you give notice to the top man in his private and his official capacity, he's the one that's responsible for the actions of his underlings.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But I don't go after them civilly. I don't try and charge them fees or anything like that. My attitude is that if you're doing that, you're going into commerce, and I try and stay away from commerce, because commerce, in my opinion, is the law of thieves. And
right.
so
I never sued them. I don't go after them. I want to stop them, and that's the only way to stop them. I'm just trying to reiterate the fact what you do is proper and correct, and that's the way they have to do it. You put them on notice, say, I accept your bond, I accept your oath of office, and I am really your superior.
That's right. I'm the king. That's what I tell them. I'm the
That's
king.
right. That's what I was trying to get across to everybody. When you stand up, first off, you have them give you their information as to who they are or who they think they are. And when they ask for your identification or whatever, do not hand it to them. Every time I've been stopped before that period of time, they would use a pencil to touch my stuff, and then they'd push it back in the billfold and say, you can be on your way, because I haven't given them permission to take it. Okay. I'm finished.
Sounds like you're doing the same thing I'm doing.
Exactly. But I'm just trying to reiterate what you're doing is correct, and I've done it many a times. I've had 35 cops draw guns on me and walked away. I've had 25 federal agents put guns on myself and my wife, and we walked away. Thing is, once they know who you are, they're going to start leaving you alone.
Yeah, they don't. If it's done properly, they will avoid you like the plague.
Yeah. So you don't want to be belligerent, like you say. You're not trying to go after money. I don't know if I heard it right. Somebody says that if they stop you, there'll be a fine. Like you say, that would be in commerce. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that's my attitude. Although I know people that do that,
I know.
And if they want to do it, that's fine. But I don't, and I stay away from that because they're thieves.
Right. They're highway robbers. They're there to gain revenue. They even had in the Orange County Register, we need more officers so we can gain more revenue. So they're all
there you go.
revenue agents. That was in the Orange County Register. One hired cops to gain more revenue.
Well, it's in the rules of civil procedure. All judges are
right.
revenue officers.
That's right. Okay. All right, I'm finished. I appreciate your talk there, Glenn, and everyone else, too.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you, Cecil. And we're going to mute you back out. And it looks like we're winding it down here. And Bob, final thoughts for this evening?
I had to see if I was muted. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Well, no other hands are raised.
Okay.
If you do want to raise your hand, now's the time to do it. Star 5 will raise it. And we had a good program here tonight with the Republic of Texas.
Do you know who you are? That's my parting thoughts. Is most people simply do not know who they are, and you have essentially a bunch of pirates that are making legal determinations for you and representing you, and you're letting them get away with it. And
before we give Bob the last word, I just want to mention coming up next on the RealPublicRadio.net, we've got a special presentation on. As far as I know, I'm the foremost expert on interpreting movies and the symbolism and the occult nature of the words. So that'll be coming up right after Senator Bob Wilson here on the Republic of Texas. And then tomorrow, we start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time with the Victim in Prison Outreach Program. We're back from the dead. We are all doing time, okay? And it doesn't matter whether you're on the inside or on the outside because we're all doing time. And for some of us, it's hard time, and we're never going to get over the pain. We're just going to have to learn how to deal with it. And that's what we do right there, okay? And then after that, Starfire Chronicles with myself and Sage, okay, talking about all the stuff of life and the lost writings and the original thought. And, Bob, you get the last word here on the Republic. Senator Bob Wilson on the Republic of Texas.
Okay. I want to thank all those who listened tonight, and especially those who called in. We want to thank them, too, and look forward to meeting with you next Saturday evening, same time, 7 o'clock Central Time. And have your questions ready. Thanks again. Good night.
Okay. Good night, Bob. And good night, Glenn. And thank you for doing the great work for the Republic of Texas. And very honored to be a part of all that. And so do tell your friends, won't you? We're right here every Saturday at 8 p.m. Well, we start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with the original gospel of Jesus Christ, a lost writing, hiding right in our face, and they don't want you to know the true nature and origin. But I'm an expert in that as well, so we give it to you. And look at our broadcast. We've got 7 day a week of programming, okay, coming your way, trying to make it a better world, but we can't do it without you. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in, telling you, don't worry, if you want to know the future, just look for the forbidden history. I'll see you. Stand by for the broadcast. The occult nature of movies, The Exorcist, and a whole lot more. Oh, The Exorcist was made by the CIA. Did you know that? Okay, well, that's what's coming up. You did tell your friends, didn't you? Okay, stand by. We're going to key it up right now. Okay, everybody, stand by for the broadcast. Welcome to the RealPublicRadio.net. And we're going to go to a little musical 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And also you can get their website. Okay. Stand by, because we're going to do a review of the movies, ladies and gentlemen. Symbolism. The mystery behind symbolism and the movies. Just the manipulation of symbols alone is a tool that is capable of controlling mankind. Coming up next.